questions. If you want to add to it, please do. In fact, I'll be asking you some questions along the way so that we get a nice exchange going. What I'll start out with is explaining what Houston Community College has been doing with Moodle. And to me, it's really exciting, and so I really want to be able to share it. You probably have been doing all of this, and you are going to see some things that that you've already been doing, maybe some things that you could suggest for us. So it's really a time of sharing and a very iMoot conference tradition. So this is really neat. We have the question why that we ask all the time. Why are we doing this presentation for you today? Well, I'm going to back up one slide. So our presentation on learner-centered Moodle, how does it look? How does it look and what does it do? Is basically what we've been discovering since last summer when we started creating Moodle courses. HCC is the fourth largest community college in the United States. We're located in Houston, as our name explains, and we have some other firsts. Let me see, or some firsts. We're the first Texas community college, the #1 community college for placing students in jobs when they graduate. Let's see, we are first with 25 workforce programs as recognized as exemplary, and we're first for international student enrollment among U.S. community colleges. So we want to do a lot for our students. That's the goal. The mission for our college is to be a learner-centered institution. It's all about our students and thinking of them in terms of really being like our clients. What can we do for each and every one of them to help them succeed and reach their goals? So with that background about the college, I'll just add that I'm Wendy Maboudian, and I have long studied how people learn, both in education, the educational arena, and also with companies, because you can never learn enough about how learners learn. And my focus is on adult learners and what does it take to create a really engaging learning environment. And we can measure effectiveness in different ways, but when we got Moodle as our LMS for our college, we just opened up a big window of opportunity to be able to design courses that are positive for our students. So this why is, why did we pick Moodle? Well, we were with another big company that dealt mainly with icons and links in the student interface. So our students were getting a lot of links and icons, and it presented content, and it was almost suggesting a checklist. Here it is, get it done, check it off, and you're out of the course. You've succeeded. Well, where's the learning? So yes, there was a lot of learning taking place, of course, a whole lot of learning, but the design of the center of the course when we got Moodle just was marvelous. There we had a learning environment. So we got to thinking, okay, as we're telling our instructors how to use this new course or this new LMS, how can we best be effective to help them? And it was our opportunity, again, an opportunity to tell our faculty about learner-centered design. Let me ask you this. I've got a little poll here, and I think this is the right one that I'm going to ask you. And here we go. Oh, this is not the right one. Hold on, I'll get the right one in just a second. And poll, oops, losing it here. The poll, I mean. No, that's the wrong one too. Well, the question is basically, are you instructors or instructional designers? And it should be this one then. Yes, here it is. So now I'm going to open this one for you. So if you'll vote, if you'll let me know if you're an instructor or an instructional designer. Okay, great. 2 instructional designers. Okay. 3. Oh, I'm not broadcasting the results. Let me do that. 4. All right. Great. So we're looking at 4 instructional designers. What we're telling our instructors as we're working with them is that if they're an instructor, they're also an instructional designer. They've got to wear 2 hats because not all of our faculty, we've got 75,000 students and we've got over 2,000 faculty just teaching online alone without counting the mixes and so forth. So we've got a lot of faculty that need support for building their courses. And in order to do that, we need to give them some information if we're not able to work with them, some information, and they need to be receptive for it. So they need to consider themselves instructional designers as well as instructors. All right, so for all of you who are instructional designers, this is perfect because we'll be talking a lot about the design. Let me hide this now. Sorry, I was a little bit clumsy with that. Let's go on to the next slide. Part of our why is that nationally, for all of our community colleges in the United States, nearly 50% of our students drop out before their second year. A lot of them struggle to complete developmental sequences. So we are constantly surveying our success. We rank higher than a lot of the big community colleges, or when we compare ourselves to them, in maintaining, retaining our students. We want to improve that. We want to raise our scores. One way we believe we can do that is through the design of our online courses. And as instructional designers, and since I'm an instructional designer at our community college, it's the role for me to be able to help the teachers, the instructors, the professors to awaken not only the creative knowledge of their students and let them apply a real world application to what they're learning, but to also awaken the joy of creating in themselves. And we really feel that Moodle has allowed our instructors to create like they never have before. So what we do, and we call our Moodle Eagle Online, what we do is we take some faculty who volunteer to help us out with model courses. And the model courses, which are the courses you're going to see today, allow us to create something that many faculty will use, whether they use it for total online, for web enhanced, or hybrid. They'll be able to get to this and see some practices that are useful for learner-centered design. Now, they're not the only best practices, and they change with the different disciplines and what they need, but it's really useful for them to see. What we found is that the good faculty who volunteer to do this end up being so surprised and really enjoying what they're designing, and they take it to their other courses as well. So for learner-centered, the learner-centeredness that we're going after, we're trying to pin it down. What exactly are we doing with our design to make it learner-centered? Well, we're using one person's quote, learner-centered teaching places the emphasis on the person who's doing the learning. It's flipping, I mean, there are so many different descriptions, but what does it look like in design? Well, from the time we started our model courses last summer, exactly a year ago, we've had different groups and we've completed about 25 model courses now. We've got the last 3 finishing up and we have a whole lot more to go. And the student perception when they first enter the course is one thing that we are really focusing on when we sit down with the instructors. And we sit down together as a group and we build as a group, we build their courses. Student perception of the content, the clarity, is the second thing that we approach, and we use labels for that. Love labels. They organize, they identify, they explain, they do so much, and you're going to see how much we're using them. and you are probably doing the exact same thing, so we can exchange some thoughts there. Student perception of activities. What we found, as I mentioned before, when it was just links, is that it just seemed like checking off and moving on. Well, the same thing could happen if we just put Word docs in a long list of links in Moodle if we're not careful. So we don't do that. With the help of the first impression at the top of the course and the use of labels, when they come to the activities, we are using a lot of scenarios, and that's the third thing that we'll look at. So here we go. We start with the learners in mind, and that's a concept that we're telling the instructors, make it real world. And we have an actual ACE that we've designed, a little ACE card, and we do put it up our sleeves when we're going to give a talk to our faculty, or we're giving the faculty who are building with us their first orientation, first meeting orientation. So we've got this little ACE, and on it, it's got the active, collaborative, and engaging explanation along with real world. And if we remember that and start with the learners in mind at all times, then our design goes very well, and we end up with some really nice coursework. We try to define learner-centered instructional design in different ways as we approached our design. And we realized that we want engaged students, and we also want to make the students stronger in their study skills. Moodle really helps to do this. The kinds of activities and the resources that we can give the students, really help to engage them, and you'll see that. I just thought I'd stick that in there. All right, and another one where I think I really know the answer that you're going to give. Let me see if I can get the right poll up this time. Okay, let me open this one and broadcast results. And the question is, do you design for learners' first impressions when they first day empty the course? Yay! Absolutely. So let me go ahead and close that and hide it. There we go. And let's move on. So again, we're looking at the top of the course, labels, our use of labels, and engaging activities. All right. This is one of our courses, and this was one of the early ones last summer. This is what it looks like. And as you can see, it's just a picture. And being just a picture actually speaks many, many words. It's welcome to government and announcements, which is the news forum, but we change it to announcements so students don't feel that they have to go in there and talk. We do end up with something like a chat cafe as a second link for students to be able to discuss things. But like I said, this is an early one. Now, if you were a student first walking in there, a community college student, sometimes they had a good high school experience and sometimes they didn't. We have so many different learners, and we want to make sure that they're all feeling good when they see the course when they first walk in. This is what Moodle lets us do. The other course, LMS, did not let us do this. This is why we started out just being absolutely thrilled with what we could do. The students are not overwhelmed with what they're seeing. And what do you think? Good start? This was the very first one that we did in the first batch of model courses. Good, good. Okay, that's what we were going for. Thank you, Cheryl. All right. So very inviting. And yeah, makes them feel at home and welcome. And we were looking back at some, research, even older research, whether it's students live on campus or students going into a course. A couple of things that they want. One is a perception of warmth and welcoming. So this is a little bit lower on the same class. You see that, and we are using collapsed topics. We realized, okay, so we're not putting all this long list of things they have to do up at top. Then where are they going to get the information? So we started to give them something called Just Started, and they've got their syllabus and all sorts of things that they have to have in there. And then this particular professor, Dr. Neil Tannehill, really had wonderful ideas, and he decided he was going to use more topics to be able to make the students stronger learners by providing information on the items that they're going to be graded on. He doesn't get started on the content until way down here. And the whole thing, because it's collapsed topics, is compact. It's not overwhelming. They're not going to drop out the first day of class when they first walk in. Okay, so Siggy, you also do this, right? Every class has their home in a course. Yeah, it does. It does help the students, and it's all about the students. So this is inside that first section. Now, one thing that that Dr. Tannehill did was we had said, let's separate, let's divide, let's make it clear and organized for students. And again, this is something you're probably doing. We're separating everything with labels, with, some things grouped. Now, the important thing about what he did is that he's asking questions in the first person. The reason to use the first person and make it in a question format is to help make the community college students that are in here stronger. So if they're just coming from high school and they haven't had a syllabus in high school and they haven't asked these questions, by just reading this, they're asking the questions in their brains just by reading it. So they're rehearsing what they should be asking in every one of our courses. How is it organized? Who else is taking it? Who's my instructor? Sometimes a student can go through a course and really not know who their instructor is. How much do I already know? That's going to be their early assessment. Can I ask a question? That's a really important one. Some students are very shy. It all may be so new to them, and they may not know that they can ask a question or how to ask a question. So we give them some help here. And then a really neat addition to right away to our model courses was an avatar. And we chose Voki because it could fit in our course neatly. It was simple. And I'll show you a little bit more of that too. Really, yay, Voki. Now, the only problem with Voki we found is that Voki is flash driven. So our students who are using iPhones or iPads can't see or hear it. So today, even as I show you the Vokis, and it will just be a short time that we look at them, but when you do see them, if you're on an iPhone or on an iPad, it won't show up because it's flash. We're hoping that it will go over to, to HTML5 so we can continue to use it. Same thing with Captivate. Okay, so again, nothing new for you, but it's confirming maybe that we're also discovering these wonderful things now about Moodle. You may have been using them for years, but we're so excited at the college about being able to see what the center of the course can provide the students in the way of an engaging learning environment. So I'm going to show you what Abby says, by the way. He doesn't give them a list of to-dos. He does something even nicer, and we'll see that in a minute because we will be looking at the avatars. Okay, so this is just kind of reiterating the difference between what faculty sometimes tend to do, which is, especially if they're coming out of that link-driven, icon-driven environment into this new environment, they tend to just create their links. They may fit them into different topics, but they just create links. So here we are adding a graphic with the label, objectives, and we've come a long way since doing this too. Notice we're getting a little more white space in here. Of course, this is a PowerPoint just, letting us see kind of what we're doing over at HCC, but we include much more now. We grew, and we're still growing. We're still finding things out. And notice we're starting a little bit of a scenario even in the label. Okay, let's move on. It does keep the page clear. Thanks. Okay, now we tend now to go a little bit opposite from keeping the page clean and clear, although we do in many courses, but we found that the label could do more than identify and add white space and graphics. The label allowed the instructor to have their voice from the classroom right there by the student as they're home or in a computer lab using the computer to go into the course. Here's the voice of the instructor. And here's, for instance, the beginning of a scenario that then they'll click on and continue. So it's meant to engage them. It's meant to inspire them. It's meant to be a little aside personally from the instructor. So the beauty of labels, if I were on a Moodle desert island, and I was told I could have only one of the wonderful Moodle tools, I guess I would choose the label because you can do so much with it. And the only thing you can't get back is student interaction or collaboration, but you can do so much with labels to lay out the course. So we're very careful about the style of writing. We try to make it very you-oriented, very friendly. And you saw that at some points we use the first person, then we use, in something like this, a very user-friendly and like we're excited. Wow, now that you've completed the topic section. We try not to be too sugary sweet, but it all depends on the personality of the instructor and thinking about warmth and organization and feeling that the instructor is speaking to the student. Okay, trying to get to the next page. There we go. So as you can see, here's a layout of one of our courses. The white space is really important. We can include our objectives. We no longer call them objectives for the most part up here. And we divide things. Let me move on. I'll be showing you that course in a minute. Oh, okay. Let's talk a minute about the activities. The activities, because of the richness of Moodle, we found that we want to prepare the faculty for the activities, for the potential in the activities that are there. And by doing so, we brought in this handy dandy little model. Let me see if it becomes larger. I think it does. It's supposed to give you a larger view of that. But it is a retention model. And we ask that the faculty take a look at this when they're designing their courses. There are so many different models. Oh my goodness, there's Bloom's taxonomy. There's this, that, and the other that we could ask the instructors to look at and use. But we want to make sure that the first thing that they think about is this. The lecture retention rate for a lecture is 5%. So compared to a discussion group, we're talking about it as 50%. If they think about that, hopefully they won't just give lecture and reading and then a test. And we don't think that our instructors do, but we want to make sure, because there are so many courses we're not seeing, and what we're doing with the model courses is looking at just a few courses. This becomes something that we're putting into movies for the faculty, little short movies and so forth, to let them know. Now, the first thing a faculty member might say is, oh my gosh, you want me to give up my lectures? No, we don't want you to do that. But start to combine things, scaffold it, build it. Don't just do one, dip into the information and then off we go. Give time for practice, discussion, rehearsal, teaching others. So we tell them do things in combinations. And it is a good model, isn't it? I get to read your, let's see, distance between, using second person helps to not to increase the I like your comments, thank you. Oh, there it is. By George, I did have a bigger view of that. So the mix of activities. And here we go. So I mentioned that we didn't want them to just link up some Word docs for the assignments. We're asking them to think about authentic experiences, about scenarios and so forth. So here's another little, I just had a blast with these little polls, and let's see if I can get the right one now. Oops, nope, that's not the right one. Let's see. Maybe it's poll 2. Let me see. Oh, okay, it is. Here's your poll. Okay. Oops, broadcast would help if I broadcast the results so you could see them. Okay. Have you used the following for real-world scenarios? Okay. We love using book for scenarios. Quizzes we use, discussion forums we use, and as you saw, we even start scenarios in the labels, and you'll see some more. Okay, great, thank you. We've got a change in it. So in books too. Okay. Oh, I wish I could see your courses too, and we could just, share back and forth. Well, I'm going to show you in a minute some samples, and I've got some on the PowerPoints, and then we'll go right into the courses themselves. Okay, that's neat. Thank you. I'll hide that. Takes me a minute. Okay. So moving on. All right. This one started out as 2 labels in a Word document. This is a nutrition course, and our nurses, pre-nursing students, and a lot of other students are taking this course. So they were just giving a comparison based on a Word doc. But in this instance, what we've got is using a book, and you don't have to use too many pages for a book. Using the book, we start out with a scenario to get them in, to engage them. We look at our learners, our audience, and see who they are in the population. And in this case, the majority are females. So we chose a female graphic. You're with your friend. She's at the store. She's complaining about feeling tired and not being able to lose weight. And you say, well, you know what? I just started my nutrition course, and hey, we can talk about it. And so let's go to the next page. The friend is putting something in the basket, some food in the basket, and you say, oh, let's look at the label on that compared to another brand. So I'll show it to you in a little bit. But then they have a purpose for comparing things. And that's what becomes important here, is giving them real world, giving them a purpose, and engaging them and getting them active. Remember that ACE card that I said we pull out of our sleeves for the faculty? Well, this is part of it. Okay. We haven't used lessons for scenarios yet. We're looking forward to doing that this year. Okay. This one is in another book. And it used to be just a Word document with a little case study, and the students were to go and gather information and come up with a recommendation and a 3-day diet. This is again the nutrition course. What we did was we took a book, and it's several pages actually, and on each of the pages it starts out with an intro, then with Nurse Tara, who's an avatar, and then it goes to, for each question there is a patient. The same patient, of course, in this particular single scenario. And the student is to really read this aloud. This is the question along with a little bit of conversation. They read the script, so they're getting used to working with the patients. And they are in a virtual clinic. I forgot to say that. When they enter this book, they are told they're in a virtual clinic, and they see Nurse Tara, and she says, oh, I'm glad you're here on time. And then they go in, and when they click here, the patient will answer them. Now, the patient is sometimes funny, gives too much information, and the student has to sort it out. Very realistic. So they fill it in, and they go through that, and by the end, they have their recommendation, and Nurse Tara tells them, well, you're going to go back, and when your patient comes back to see you, you'll be able to see a difference that you made for this patient. So it becomes a little bit real, even though we all know that it's a simulation. It's a fun simulation. Had student feedback saying it was really engaging. And he did it with his wife, and they enjoyed it. So looking at, oh, you have a question, sorry. With Voki, does it speak? Do you record the audio, or is it synthetic text-to-speech? I'm going to show you in a minute. It is. We use the synthetic text-to-speech for the model courses. 2 reasons. One, that way, because we describe to the instructors so that they can augment it, change it. We use it so that they don't have to record their own voice or recreate all of the Vokis if they augment it. And the other reason is that it's so much easier. But we do have some examples of using recording from the instructors. It is easy to record, and you can do either, and it's really neat, and I'll show you. I'm going to hurry up a little bit. That last one you saw was to look at a web page, and we gave a purpose with the scenario. This is an example of a quiz. The graphics are so important, and I haven't really talked enough about graphics yet. As you know, they are so important. And then we always have alt text, and we always have alternate text for our vokies as well. We want to make the alt text for the graphics as engaging as the actual graphics are. So dietitians, this is another scenario about being a student intern or an intern nutritionist for the health department. And there's a little scenario of what happened. The supervisor is telling the student this story and then says, in your educated guess, it's giving the student the dignity of knowing the subject because the student read it. And what do you think happened? Where did Mary go wrong? So they drag and drop. Let's see. This one, you know how students, if you give them a writing assignment, they're just going to write it and leave it and check it off and walk out of the course without the knowledge. So in this one, there's a real-world assignment. It's part of the, it's part of a scenario where the City Hall has a special committee on child hunger in Houston, and the student is to help out the committee by writing a paragraph, researching in some very specific websites and writing a paragraph. This is the partner. Now, usually students kind of groan when they say you have to work with a partner on it, but it's a virtual partner. The virtual partner ends up giving the students what the instructor was going to give them, but it becomes part of the duty of that team member, of the avatar. And the neat thing about it is that it also teaches the students how to take a role in a team and how to work as a team in a fun, light way, very fast. So our avatars, as you can see, this is what we ended up using for one of our avatars. This was actually for the training course for Moodle, and this is what she started out as. So there's a lot of variety, and they have even more. It's free, it's neat. Go ahead and oh good, we're at the point where we can go ahead and I'm going to share and show you the actual courses. Hold on just a sec. And I hope it opens up the right thing right away. Ah, good, it did. Can you all see this? Can you all see it? Good, good, good. Okay. So this is Dr. Tannehill's course. This is the actual course. We've seen that one, so I'm going to skip right on. This is the basic nutrition course. Again, at the top, we wanted it to be very friendly. And here's the start here for this one. Graphics in every single topic area. Let's see, here is the actual book that we were showing. I'm going to show it pretty quickly. Okay, they start here. This is actually more wording than I would do now. They click here to get their questionnaire, then they go to the next page of the book, and I think I checked the wrong one. Here we go. Can you all see Nurse Tara coming in? Here's Nurse Tara. Let's see if you can hear her. Okay, so were you able to hear her? One more time I'll ask you. Did it work for you to hear her voice before I show you more? No, you couldn't hear her voice. Not really. Okay, so that won't work, and that's a shame because the use of the Voki avatar, I'm going back to Neil's course, to Dr. Tannehill's course. The use of the avatar in here is really interesting. And when I open him up, he's in the book tool here. Sometimes we put them in the label tool, sometimes in the book tool, depending on what they're doing. the neat thing that he did to make the course engaging and learner-centered, he didn't just say, here are all the things you have to do. My job is to help you succeed. I'm your teaching assistant. And Professor told me our goal is for every student to master the course material. So that's pretty neat. He does some other neat things too, because he also adds a student. He has a lot of content, but let's see. A student has a question, and here's the student. So he ends up saving a lot of time answering the admin questions he used to answer, or some students may not feel comfortable asking a question. He's giving them the information that they need. Her question is, do I really have to cover all of the resources? I feel overwhelmed. And Abby's answer is really nice, because he says, and Dr. Tannehill does have a lot of content, but for different learner styles, there's some they all have to cover, and some that, depending on their preference, they will choose to go over material. So Abby answers Matu. Now, Neil has said that there have actually been a couple of students trying to email Abby and thinking that there is a real teaching assistant somewhere, and Abby represents the teaching assistant. Excuse me. So those are in Abby's courses. So it's pretty neat. If you want to see a little bit more very quickly about what we're doing with the avatars, you can see that in blog.voki.com. And let me go ahead and just type it in here. So that would be blog.voki.com. Okay. And let's see. So now I've lost my stuff. It should be in here. There we go. Back again. Can you tell me if you can't see it? Okay. Let's see. So a little bit more about the use of avatars. This one is the training course, the basic training course for faculty to take when they first want to start working with Moodle. Again, like I said, we call our Moodle Eagle Online. And so we tell them in 8 days they have to learn it. Sometimes passwords are hard. This is more than we usually put up at the top of a course. And when you open it, this is the toggle bar. You're going to see that there is, and this one is recorded, another avatar. And then we really, for the faculty, because they have to do this in 8 days, and because we saw that some of them tend not to click to go in to get the information, we broke the rules of good design, and we really made it awfully crowded. But it was one way of giving them the information without their having to click. Then Wade lets them know if they're ready to move on. So as we can, and well, we're not going to see Wade, he's just taking up a little bit too much time. But by using the label tool, the things that they weren't getting, bingo, there it is for faculty right in front of them. And it's been useful. Okay, I'm going to show you this one because it's neat the way that we've kind of moved forward on being even more learner-centered for the students. Here, these are their objectives. We're supposed to give them their objectives throughout the course. If we put just objectives, they might skip over it. If we have them click to go into a Word document, we might lose them, they might miss it. So we realized, well, gosh, what the students need is to realize that the objectives are really just what they need to know. And so we started to do that. And then here, as you can see, that this was the example where we start a scenario out here, and then it ends up in a, continuing in a book format. Let me see. This one, it's a new Education 1300 course. We realized that some students might misstart here, and it really helps to add this arrow. The graphics, again, graphics being so important. So we're either showing the students in the course or the students successfully having done something, and I'm going to run back back to this one. The medical terminology shows the students after they've taken the program. So it's all about the students, very student-centered in many different ways. There's so many different facets to learner-centered. And let's see, on this one we realize that there's so much in this that we really need for them to have a chance to take a break. So in the beginning, we have a messy backpack. This is something that most of the students in the college have to take, a course that they have to take. It gives them so many good things, managing their finances, their college resources and all. So every so often, they take a break. So that was the first one. Here's another one, take a break. And this is running over. Sometimes it does. We have to be careful about it. Let's see, another avatar that the faculty made. And then we're going to link them to Glockster to kind of gather their thoughts, what all they've done in a Glockster poster, so they end up with a few posters that remind them. So we have that as an example. And let me find the one that I was trying to show you. It's not that. Oh my. Where did it go? I seem to have lost it. Is it 3:30 yet? Or I can't quite see my... Okay. We have 15 more minutes. I do want to find this one course for you. So bear with me. And the reason why I want to show it to you is because it's helped us. You know how we're looking for scenarios and all. This one has a lot of scenarios in it. You can see we have a variety: real estate, environmental, science. We even have 2 sets of government courses that we ended up doing to demonstrate to the faculty that you can develop totally different looking courses in Moodle, totally different courses that are both very learner-centered, so that they don't feel that we're telling them to do something just one way, because that's not what it's about. Okay, so this one is a psychology course, lifespan development. And again, they use Voki, and we age the Vokis in this one. But what I'm going after is to they use labels for instructor notes. These are hidden, so the students will never see them, but the faculty will, who pick up this course and want to use it. They either put it at the end of the topic or another. I don't know if that's something that you're doing, but it's something the faculty came up with, and it seems like it's just such a neat idea. They click in here to see what Norm and Norma say. They have to talk about norms, so they've got 2 avatars, a couple. Norma is a scientist, and Norm is her husband, so they get to talk about the norms, and Norma gets to ball out norms sometimes for different things. It's pretty cute. Let's see. Here it is. So this is, again, a scenario, and we start it here, and this one is using a discussion. And to get them working in teams, they're going to go through, some steps. And the steps start with the first one. In this discussion area, all they do is to pick a team and get in there and know their team members. That's all they do there. Okay. And then they go back out. Can you still see everything? Oh, thank you, Chad. I see that he had to go. Okay. In this one, then, the next one, they're going to choose their team, and that's where they get the information in the teamwork that they'll be doing. So that was pretty neat. And then they have the drop box, again, using arrows so they won't miss it, because as you can see, our font's pretty small in this. Okay, so questions. Do you have any questions? Can you share what you're doing like this? Oops, I didn't mean for that to go big. Okay. While you're typing, I also want to say that I'd love to share one of our college web pages where we've got 3 movies that cover this, 3 short movies. Thank you, Chad. And I think JF was typing something. Let me go ahead then, and I'll go ahead, Cheryl. In the meantime, I'll just get that for you. Oops. Oops. You like the idea of putting this the student to the center? Yeah, yeah. That it came out of the it came out of what we are doing as an institution, and we were trying to figure out when the rubber hits the road, how do you make that happen? Thank you, Cheryl. I don't think that I wonder if the noise of the movie or the sound of the movie would come up. I'm trying to read this as I'm talking. I have a hard time doing 2 things at once, so I'll stop reading a minute. And Cheryl, I will see if I can just get one to start. You don't want to see the whole thing through, but I can kind of show you. Again, it's a Captivate, so it's running on Flash. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm going to skip forward a little bit because the concept, we're telling them don't just have them read and then take a test, have them do something. There's our thing that we use. Here it is. So we want them to think of themselves as a director when they're creating their courses, and their students are actors, and they're going to be telling them through what they've designed what they're supposed to do, so make it engaging. So it's something where if you go to that, there's some other links on that page, but you'll find 3 movies. And the third one you can see is they're getting a little more polished as we go along. Okay. Ah, good. Link good enough. Okay, great. Can you share, I'm looking at the time, we've got a little bit more time, and I really would love to hear about what you're doing. We have these 3 points that we're working on, and we're adding more, like for instance with all of the graphics that we're trying to use, how can we create alt tags that are also engaging? So the top of the class, the use of labels and activities that are engaging, mostly scenarios, so that there's real world practice. And I think I have, do I have one last one on that? No, I don't think that I do. Is there something different that, something else that we should be considering, and we should, I know there's so much more, but for our next step. Well, let me put down my email address, if that's okay. I hope that's okay. And if you think of anything, or, you know, let me just get this down. Okay. There we are. Any additional information coming from what you're doing? And oh, I'd love that. Okay, thank you. Wonderful. Ah, interesting. Yeah. Unified presentation of our classes, it's so important. One of the things that we tried to standardize was where our blocks are, so that students we know instructors want different blocks and can have them anywhere, but we asked them to put the email list and the calendar in one certain place. So anytime, any course that the students walk into, it will be the same. For the design, you know, the instructors really want to keep their freedom of design, but if we can just get across to them the learner-centered basics, then anything that they do that is learner-centered is just, you know, as long as it's good for the students, well organized, it's going to be wonderful because they are the experts in their field and so forth. So it all comes together nicely when they have this. And we've seen some really good responses from the faculty working on the model courses. In fact, we've had 2 sets of faculty who came back to do another set, 3 sets in fact, and they still want to come in and sit down throughout the entire creation process because it's synergy. We put our heads together and we always learn more. So this is maybe a good time to go ahead and stop right here. I appreciate what you've shared. Yes, we can be inventive. They are so plastic. And the center of the course is such a wonderful canvas. And it does make the instructors the instructional designer that they need to be. Do you have any course open? I don't have a course open, Anna. But I can get probably get a let me talk to my director about it and see if we can get a password and do that. I'm making a note of that. That would be really neat. Thanks. I'll go ahead and see if I can get that done. Ah, right. And you know, we're trying to put together a, yeah, the template. Let me jot it down. We're trying to put together a guide, and it's like a work in progress. It's things we've collected since last summer. And we know that faculty don't want to have a book, but it's just a few pages that remind them. Thank you very much, JF. Thank you. Yes, yes, we do need to be those steps ahead and help them with the resources. Oh, wow. I would love to do that. I'm new to this. I don't know about Mooch. Moodle Hub. Okay. We go through a provider, so uh, I'm now able to through iMoot and all going into the Moodle community. Wonderful. I would love to do that. Thank you. Hub.Moodle. Thank you. This is fun. Okay. So would I be, Anna, would I be able to put in one of the college courses with the proper college permission, right? Thank you, Gilvin. Oh, neat. Thank you. That's right. That would be nice. Oh, that would be great synergy. Free Moodle. Okay. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. I was looking at typing. I thought there was some typing going on for a minute. Okay. Oh, thank you. Wow, thank you very much, Cheryl. I really appreciate that. Thank you all very, very much. This was great. Thank you. I'm going to capture that right now. Siggy, I'm going to get that right now. Okay.
Hi there, Shane here. Just wanted to say on behalf of the iMoot team, thank you, Wendy, for that great presentation and kind of case study.
Thank
And
you.
certainly had a lot to take away from that. Thank you.
Well, it was a great group. Thank you all very, very much. Have a nice day, JF. Thank you. Thanks, Shane.